Hello. Hello, please. Yeah, what's the problem, sir? We just drove down our farm track. Yeah. Go and feed our pheasants. We come across a Range Rover with 3 people in it. Yeah. It appears that they're dead. I don't know what's happening. Blood in the motor all over them.
And welcome back to a new video on the Essex Boys case. As always, if you are enjoying the content, please do give the video a thumbs up. And if you're interested in the Essex Boys case, or simply true crime in general, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. For the next potential sighting of Tucker Tatum Rolfe, we need to head to East London and to Ilford, where at just past 11 PM on the 5th of December, Tucker Tatum Rolfe are potentially spotted at Courtlands Avenue. Let's now take a look at that eyewitness account. The following statement is from Henry Oweedy, dated the 4th of the 1st, 96. At around 23:15 hours on Tuesday the 5th of the 12th, 95, I was leaving my home address. I got into my motor vehicle and turned into a road called Courtlands Avenue, which is situated approximately 20 yards from the front of my house. Courtlands Avenue leads to a road called the Drive in Ilford. I was approximately 120 yards from the end of Courtlands Avenue when I saw a dark coloured Range Rover pull from the near side curb to the offside curb. The Range Rover was facing towards Wanstead Park Road. My attention was drawn to this vehicle because when it pulled to the offside, 4 large male persons got out of the vehicle. They all appeared to open the door at the same time. They appeared to be looking across the road towards the area where I first saw them. When I first saw the vehicle on my near side, it appeared to be stationary. I only managed to look at one of the males. He was the one who got out of the offside rear door of the Range Rover. I saw his face, but I would say he was around 30 to 35 years of age with a tough, rough-looking face. I can't describe these persons in any other way. On Friday the 27th of the 12th, I was watching a programme called Crime Monthly on the television about a triple murder in Essex near Basildon. This was shown on television and the photographs of the 3 deceased men came up on the screen all at the same time. The photograph on the right of the television screen I believe was the deceased Rolfe. I recognised this person as being very similar to the male I had seen getting out of the Range Rover as previously described. Okay, so there isn't a great deal to discuss regarding this statement as a lot of it is quite vague, but in the interest of giving you all of the information, I felt that it was necessary to include this statement in this video. What is interesting is that the person who gave this statement believes that he could identify Craig Rolfe actually sitting in the back, in the rear offside seat. Now, what is interesting about that is obviously Rolfe was normally the driver of the vehicle, so if this was Tucker Tatum Rolfe, then why was Rolfe in the rear of the vehicle? I guess that makes the statement a little bit less credible potentially. But what is important to remember is that if this is Tucker Tatum Rolfe, we have a 4th occupant here. Now, was this someone who simply had dealings with them on the 5th, or maybe someone who had dealings with them on the 5th and the 6th also? Let's now take a look at the next eyewitness account, which comes from the day of the murder itself. The following statement is from Francis Darling, dated the 11th of the 12th, 95. I am retired, but as a part-time job I am employed by Essex County Council as an escort for disabled persons. This is a daily job and we travel from Chelmsford to Basildon via the A130. I leave Chelmsford usually around 7:20 AM to 7:30 AM and we normally arrive in Basildon around 8:45. Sometime between 7:55 AM and 8:05 on Wednesday the 6th of the 12th, 95, the coach I was travelling in was on the A130 Rettendon. As the road goes through the dual carriageway into a single carriageway, the road bears sharply to the left. On the left-hand side of the road is situated a farm shop, and past this is a farm track. As we approached this farm track, I could see a dark-coloured Range Rover motor vehicle, which was either black or blue, parked in the entrance to this farm track and facing into it. Standing next to the Range Rover and on the south end side of the vehicle were 3 men. I can only describe these men as all wearing dark clothing, and the one who was standing nearest to the Range Rover was taller than the other two and wearing a hat. It appeared as though the vehicle may have been broken down and they were waiting for someone and had been there for some time. I do not believe I would recognise any of the men again. I only saw these men for around 2 to 3 seconds as the bus passed. I had a clear and unobstructed view of these men during that time. Okay, so here again we have a potentially blue Range Rover seen to the entrance of the farm track with multiple occupants. Now, the first occasion of seeing a blue Range Rover at that farm track, I believe, was on the 27th of November. And now we're at the 6th of December, the morning of the day of the murders. Could this have been Tucker, Tate and Rolfe making an early visit to this farm lane? And if so, what would that purpose have been? Could it have been that they were expecting some sort of deal to go down, or they intended to double cross someone that evening and they were familiarising themselves with the area and possibly checking it out before they plan to return later on in the evening? What we have here regarding this farm lane is a lane which is almost a hive of activity in the days and weeks leading up to these murders. What you need to remember, for those of you who haven't been to Rettendon, or for those of you who aren't familiar with the area, we are talking about a small village here. This isn't an urban environment where cars come and go on a frequent basis. This is simply farmland. This is a farmer's track which basically leads down to fishing ponds. Now, ultimately they will have been used on quite a frequent basis by the people who were members of that fishing syndicate, but we're having a pattern develop here of a Range Rover, either a green Range Rover or a blue Range Rover, being seen at that site with big thick-set men being seen with their vehicles. And that's what I do when I look at these statements, is I'm looking for some sort of pattern, some sort of regular occurrence which is outside of the norm. Now, normally you would have a farmer who would attend that field twice daily to feed the pheasants. You would have the odd Land Rover or car attending the lakes beyond the gate. But what we have here is a clear pattern developing of people who don't appear to fit in with their surroundings. These aren't farmers. These aren't sort of horse riding people. These aren't people who are hunters. These are more sort of akin to what you would class as a bouncer or a doorman. This is a common theme that's developing here. Now, is this just a lane where people used to meet up, or was there deeper plans for this lane which were building up way before December the 6th? And even on the morning of December the 6th, people were still turning up there. Was that for final checks on where some sort of deal was going to happen? Was a plane supposedly coming to land in one of those fields? Or was this simply just a frequent spot for criminals or people of that sort of world to meet up and discuss things? It's a strange place to see all this activity. A man in a field with binoculars, the green Range Rover of 3 occupants, a man standing outside looking dishevelled and nervous. Now we have the blue Range Rover with another 3 occupants inside the vehicle. What was their intention in being there? Was it completely harmless? Or was it something to do with the murder that occurred a few hours later on, that very same day? That's what we need to ask ourselves here. All of this circumstantial evidence, all of these circumstantial eyewitness accounts must tell us something. There was a hive of activity here, enough so that people saw these events and thought they were important enough to go forward to the police and give their account of what they saw. The following statement is from Victor Furlow. I live in a bungalow in Gainsborough Drive, Westcliff, Essex. Gainsborough Drive is a one-way residential road with many parked cars, which should restrict the speed of passing traffic. The speed limit is 30 miles per hour. At around 11:45 hours on Wednesday the 6th of the 12th 95, I was at home. I went into the front bedroom to shut the window. It has a square bay window and gives a good view out onto Gainsborough Drive. I looked out of the bedroom window and saw a blue Range Rover, like the Vogue style, being driven along the road, heading from West Road. It was travelling fast, at around 55 miles per hour, which is fast for a congested residential road. My attention was drawn to it because of the speed and my interest in Range Rovers. I could see there was only one occupant of the Range Rover, and that was the driver. I could not describe the driver of this Range Rover. As it travelled along Gainsborough Drive, I could see it was being followed by a large, white, expensive-looking car. It may have been a Granada, that sort of size, but it looked a quality car. The white car had a black line, possibly a moulding along the side. This was about 6 inches wide at the bottom of the doors. The car was a 4-door and also had a large rear black bumper, which was considerably wider than the side of the car. It was travelling at the same speed as the Range Rover and only about 10 feet to its rear. There appeared to be 6 people in the white car. The driver appeared to be a male, white, short cropped hair. He appeared to be too small for the car, seated very low. He had a brown multi-fleck jumper on with orange markings. Underneath he had a white shirt. I could see the collar sticking out from the jumper. The front passenger appeared to have turned almost completely around to face the people in the rear of the car. One of the rear passengers had his back against the near side window. The car appeared overcrowded. As the car passed, I could see another 3 passengers in the rear of the vehicle. As the white car passed, I heard a blast, which I believe sounded like a shotgun blast. I have been clay pigeon shooting before and believe the blast I heard to be that of a shotgun. It was definitely not a car backfiring. The white car swerved onto the offside of the road. The brake lights came on for a short time. I thought the car was going to stop, but it did not, and the car pulled back into the centre of the road and continued to follow the Range Rover. Both cars went straight across the junction with Fairfax Drive, failing to give way. I stretched to watch them as long as I could. I saw both vehicles turn left onto the dual carriageway at Prittlewell Chase and out of my view. I did not take any registration numbers of the vehicles. I do not think I would be able to recognise anyone in the 2 vehicles again. Okay, now this is one of the statements I want you to pay particular attention to. It's actually one of the ones I find most interesting out of all of the statements regarding the case. And there are a few reasons for this. The firstly being that it doesn't actually tie in with a lot of the timeline that we have regarding Tucker, Tate and Rolfe. Bear in mind at this point in time, the only person in this blue Range Rover is the driver. So if it's going to be anyone, it would more than likely be Craig Rolfe. Now, the problem we have with this is that this sighting was around 11:45. Craig Rolfe's neighbour said that he believes that Craig Rolfe left his house around midday, which would tie in with the visit to Barry Dorman's garage, etc, etc. Now, the issue we have is that the distance between Craig Rolfe's house and this place on Westcliff-on-Sea, Gainsborough Drive, is around a 44-minute drive, so quite a sizable distance. And the distance from Dorman's garage to Gainsborough Drive is around 25 minutes. So the fact that this man has seen them around 11:45 doesn't quite tie in. But what does tie in is the dark coloured Range Rover and the white vehicle being seen together, the white vehicle being packed full of occupants, both vehicles driving in an excessive, erratic manner. You will see what I mean when we get to Rebecca Carr's statements later on in this video. But this is really the first eyewitness account of a white vehicle being seen with a dark coloured Range Rover. And this is a pattern which is to repeat itself up until and after the deaths of Tucker, Tate and Rolfe. So this statement, although it seems quite over the top, quite dramatic, quite theatrical, this could be one of the most key statements in this whole entire case. What else can we gain from this statement, and what else is being presented before us? Was this simply 2 people who normally drove like this, and that's the way they were driving on that morning when they were overshooting the junction, not giving way? I've actually seen this road on Google Earth, and it's an incredibly congested road. It's a one-way street, and you get to a 3-way junction, so I can't imagine that someone would normally drive that way and just shoot out across 3 lanes of potential traffic. It's almost like the picture that I'm getting is that the Range Rover is trying to escape this white vehicle. The white vehicle is swerving from left to right and trying to keep up with the Range Rover. Also remember that this white vehicle had 6 occupants in it. Craig Rolfe, if this was him driving the Range Rover, was on his own. Was this were these 6 occupants somehow connected to Tucker, Tate and Rolfe? Had they screwed them over in some way? Did they spot Craig Rolfe driving the Range Rover and they went after him? What the most important thing to do is, regarding this statement, is to simply remember it, because the pattern of the white vehicle and a dark coloured Range Rover is one that is going to be repeated many times until the end of this video. But this is really the first time on the 6th of December that the white vehicle, or a white vehicle, is seen with a dark coloured Range Rover. If you would like to learn more about the Range Rover murders, then click on the video in front of you now. You will also see the Essex Boys playlist, which has all of the videos concerning this case in one convenient folder. Many thanks for joining me for this video. I look forward to seeing you all again for the next one. Take care. Cheers.